So we'll continue as long as people want to ask Rudy questions and Rudy can stand. Thank you. So, questions?
I have a question. The foundation, what's the role or impact of the foundation overall financial statement for BGSU?
The foundation's holdings, which will be shown as separate in the financial statements from the university. And of course, the foundation exists solely for the benefit of the university. And so, for example, when Moody's or S&P are looking at resources per student, which is one of the things that they will look at in giving you, say, a bond rating, they take into account the money that your foundation has, and it's not that you could say to the foundation, well, hey, give us this money, again, we'll spend it on paying faculty salaries or something like that. But of course, the more resources you have in your foundation, for example, the more scholarships that you can offer to students. And generally, there's some money that universities use to give financial aid and scholarships that's their own money that they could use for something else. For example, whenever you discount your tuition, you're giving up dollars in order to support students. And if you had, the more money you have in a foundation that can give those same scholarship dollars to someone, the less heavily you would have to discount your scholarships. And that's, discount your tuition. And so I think that's the role of the foundation. Most of the money that usually goes into the foundation will usually be restricted because donors usually don't just write you a blank check, and so there'll be some of that when those designations that are made that is they need to pay some attention to when they're allocating those funds.
The Senate Bill 6 ratios, is that affected by the foundation?
No, but that does not include
It's
anything.
decoupled.
No, we have it right. It's totally decoupled, even though the financial statements, because actually the foundations will also, in addition, have their own financial statements because they're private tax-exempt organizations. They're probably 501c3s, charitable organizations. You can make a donation to them and write it off on your taxes. And the reason why they've started, however, showing you something about what your foundation dollars are in your audited statements is because there is this relationship between the foundation. It's not something like, well, there's the United Way, should we put that in there? Well, no, this is the BGSU Foundation. It exists solely to support the activities of Bowling Green State University. And so therefore, knowing that those assets are there is meaningful in looking at the university. But the Senate Bill 6 is really just about the performance of the institution itself.
And no effect on operating cash flow or the other measures?
The
Net
foundation?
assets, yes.
No, not completely separate. They've got their own change in net assets, their own, and actually the terminology is slightly different. It's a little bit more like a private university, which it would be a 501c3 as well, in that they have unrestricted, temporarily restricted, and then permanently restricted net assets, whereas at the state university you're going to have non-expendable restricted net assets, expendable restricted net assets, which would be something like you get a federal grant to do some research and all that money isn't spent in this year. That is expendable, but it's restricted. And then you have unrestricted net assets. So the terminology is a little bit different. And most of the foundation's net assets should be either permanently or temporarily restricted.